And it's something that's been talked about around this league for a little bit now. And I thought yesterday was actually a really good day of football, but it's kind of the first that we've had. We've had some good games, but we have had some real duds, and scoring is so low in this league. And people are trying to figure out why that is. And honestly, this was something I was thinking of doing a little bit later in the week, but on a roll. So let's look at it. Why is this league offensively in the shape that it is in? Well, defenses get paid too. And teams have kind of figured out, like, okay, well, if we put two guys back there, it's going to make it a whole lot easier for us to defend. And so I think that there has been some defensive adjustments to the wild and craziness that was going on. And so that limited things. But I also think the NFL has done a abysmal job of hiring coaches in the last 5-10 years, where you have got like Cliff Kingsbury didn't do a fucking thing to deserve that job as head coach. What's his name? Nathaniel Hackett. Oh, he's the offensive coordinator for Aaron Rodgers. Didn't do a thing to deserve that coaching job. And you just go on down the line with all these. Oh, Brandon Staley. Well, he's a defensive-minded guy. Okay, where was that defense ever? They did so bad at hiring these coaches year after year after year. It was anyone who had bought coffee for Kyle Shanahan was getting an offensive job. And so you are basically running an entire league off of like 3 offensive systems, whether it would be whatever McVay is doing, whatever Kyle Shanahan is doing, and then actually good offensive minds like Andy Reid who would adjust to things and stuff like that. And so when you have a league where you have everyone who is trying to do just like a bastard, yeah, right. But still, it was like, I guess I'm not saying, I should have explained that better. Like, yes, McVay comes off of the Shanahan tree, but then after that, anyone who worked with McVay, people were hiring off of, right? Like, oh, he was on McVay's staff as the offensive line coach, hired, right? Like that was the big thing. And so that's kind of where I was going at. Yes. And I do think McVay has kind of shifted things a little bit, but they aren't, to your point there, they aren't that different of systems. And that does kind of drive home a bit more of my point. If I'm a defensive coordinator right now, I don't have to figure out, okay, what do the Ravens do every week? That might be a bad example, I guess. But okay, what do the 49ers do every week? What do the Cardinals do every week? What do the Packers do every week? What do these guys do every week? You basically have to figure out like 3 or 4 offensive systems to shut down, and then you've covered most of the league. So you can just go through okay, let's go, okay, we're playing Shanahan this week. All right, well, this worked in week 2 against them. We've also seen him, to your point, Walt, for 7 goddamn years in San Francisco, and I don't know if a whole lot has switched up. And now it's, oh my God, motion. And one guy moving on the line, which as a Canadian Football League fan is hilarious to me, but that's beside the point. You have like 3 or 4 things, and that's all you need to get figured out. And you can shut down like half of the league. And you do that 1 or 2 more times, and you've got the whole league figured out. And so we are hiring these guys who aren't qualified from systems that they are then taking, and they aren't doing the best of it. Aside from McVay, who has this boy wonder mind and can tell you anything that has ever happened in the sport of football ever. And so he has adjusted it and kind of tweaked it to make it his own. But aside from that, you're taking a lot of guys who aren't as smart as the dudes who came up with this in the first place and hoping that they can then replicate it. And so you are getting to defend against, with all due respect, dumbed down versions of these offenses on a week in, week out basis. So no shit that everyone is shutting down these offenses, because there's only 4 you have to worry about. And then the cherry on top is every goddamn year in the draft, what do we hear? Oh, well, this team needs a quarterback, so they're going to draft a quarterback in the first round. Okay. Does this quarterback have a first round grade on him? Well, no, but we're going to roll with him anyway. And so you are putting the fate of your franchise into the hands of someone who isn't qualified to be in that spot in the first place. And you are now hoping that they are going to play at that high of a level that you should be that they should be based on where you are drafting them. And so then you get mistakes of Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen. We can do this for hours talking about quarterbacks that didn't work, right? So you get these guys just because they play this one position. And like Bo Nix, no world was Bo Nix a top 15 pick in the NFL draft, except the Denver Broncos needed a quarterback, and he kind of looked like Drew Brees in a picture once, so we're taking him. Teams have just been falling over each other just to get the next best quarterback in the draft and not actually building their rosters up. And then to Walt's point, sometimes they're not even surrounding them with the right guys. It's just, here, fucking fix it, man, and go do it. And so you're putting underqualified quarterbacks in, again, dumbed down offenses and hoping that they can just fix everything, and then you get mad at them for not being able to fix anything at all. And and then you compound it by spending insane amounts of money on every one of these guys because you have to, because you don't want to go back into that vicious quarterback cycle that leads you to where the Raiders are, where it's Gardner Minshew and Aiden by God O'Connell running out there and trying to run your offense. So you just you either have to overpay for Dak Prescott, who hasn't done anything to look like a $250 million or whatever the fuck it was quarterback, and you are now expecting him to be able to make everyone around you better. And that, like, he's never done that. He has never been that guy. He's been a fine quarterback, but he has never been well, you can give him a fucking quarter of your salary because he can go out and lift everyone up. You can do that to Mahomes because he's incredible. You can do it to Josh Allen because he's also a running back out there, and he can do a lot of those things. And Lamar Jackson is a unicorn, so he can do those things. You pay those guys. Joe Burrow, winner. Those types of things. But then you pay... And, like, I think Jordan Love's going to be pretty good. You pay Jordan Love a gigantic contract off of one good season where he then threw a pick six, and it was insane, the throw that he ended up doing. And so you put these guys in these positions that their talents just aren't there for. And you then wonder, okay, well, why is the league struggling? It's because you have wildly mismanaged almost every offense in the league. And yeah, like, Mahomes hasn't looked spectacular. I would suggest that a lot of it is based off of what's going on around him. I think if you gave him a Devontae Adams, all of a sudden, hey, he looks good again. I think he has done just enough to be able to win. And I think that's kind of the situation that they have been placed in. But I think, like, if you gave him Miami's offense, then they win a Super Bowl and are probably undefeated for several years in a row. Like, I think he is incredibly talented. They just weren't able to put a roster around him because they paid him like a franchise quarterback. And I think he deserved that. And he is showing that he is good enough to at least get you to scrape by with the scraps that he is left with. But then you do the same for Justin Herbert, who's 500 in his career, and it's not going to work. Why would it work? And so it has just been incredible amounts of mismanagement for so long that has led this league to being in the offensive point, or into just the point in general where it is, to the point where we're looking at Washington's schedule. It's like, okay, maybe they haven't beat anyone, but they don't have anyone to beat because no one's anyone. Like, the Steelers lose to the Cowboys last night. Is that a bad loss? Is it a good win for Dallas? I don't know, because everyone's the goddamn same. So anyway, that is the rant there. The one thing, because we were going to get to talk about the Raiders there. Walt saying Adams will never be in KC, but I think Cooper will be. We need to get Amari Cooper out of Cleveland ASAP. That's fair. On the Adams thing, I think you're right, and I think it's silly because, like, again, as a Raider fan, if they traded Devontae Adams to the Chiefs, we're going to be like, okay, well, now the Chiefs are better than the Raiders. Now, boy, now that's really tipped them over the top. We were neck and neck before, and now they've just blown right past us. No, if the Chiefs give you the best offer, take it. Get the most you can for your last good trade chip, unless you want to move Max Crosby, which please don't. But if you... Like, this is the big thing that you have, so get the most out of it, is what I would tell you. And no, like, I do think some of the Daniels hype, to your point, Walt, has gotten a little out of control a touch. But I do also think that he is quite talented. And I do think that this is a Commanders team that maybe we took for granted. Is this going to be a team that wins the Super Bowl? No. There's still a pretty good chance they don't even make the playoffs, just based off of how bad that defense is. But I think that they are beating even if they are just average defenses, they are beating them so thoroughly that I think you have to be impressed with what they are doing. Also, I do like Cleveland's defense hasn't really shown up, and I think everyone has just kind of quit. But in the 3 weeks before this game, you have they gave up 20 points, 21 points, 13 points. Like, this defense has played well. The team sucks, but the defense has played well, and I think that Washington should get at least some credit for what they did there to the Browns. Aside from that, like, there wasn't a whole lot else. Green Bay gets the win. It maybe wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be, but they still get a win. And then the Cowboys, in a delay, get a victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers. So but good stuff there with the rant about where the NFL is going and all of that. I had that one in the chamber for a little bit later on the week, but had to bring that one out now because of all the frustration around everything that has been going on in this league for the last little bit, and everyone being like, well, we're all looking for who's responsible here, right?